I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Denise Wunderler. She's the founder and president of Team Vienna for Sudden Undetermined Death in Childhood. She is a sports medicine physician at the Central Jersey Spine Wellness in Freehold, New Jersey, and she's been an international team physician for USA Volleyball. She graduated from Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences. Then Denise completed her family medicine residency and sports medicine fellowship in Cleveland, Ohio, within the Cleveland Clinic system. I've known Denise for a long time, since she was a medical student. I tried to recruit her for USA track and field and other things. She was always curious, always bright, always intelligent, always asking why, learning things. Unfortunately, Denise and her family experienced the worst thing that I could imagine for parents or for siblings. Like a lot of people, she has a lot of questions, but I'm so proud of her because she's taken the energy that some people would use in a certain way, and she's taken her energy into positive direction, starting her foundation. The goal of the foundation, she'll tell you more, but is to try to find out why there's this sudden death in children around the country, around the world, and most importantly, try to prevent these till we can identify the etiologies. So, Denise?
Thank you, everybody, for being here. So after Vienna died, I wrote words to her. I wrote a message to her. And 2 months after that, I sent them to her favorite musician. And to my surprise, he turned them into a song. It just helped my family and so many other families. And today, for the first time publicly, I'm going to perform the first verse of that song. So many things I wanted to teach you. So many things I wanted to show you. So many things I wanted to tell you. Don't understand why my little girl is gone. I think about you every day. You'll always be one of my 3 precious V's. I think about you every day. That will never ever go away. That will never ever go away. That will never ever go away. Thank you. Testing, testing. Babe 1, 2. Wait, I'm sorry, which? Oh, the down is there. Okay, thank you. So, you know, Vienna loves music, and here she is with her brother and sister dancing to her favorite musician's music, playing the drums. It's our family of 5, 2017, first day of school. Vienna loves fashion, with her pink Rutgers jersey and her red pants and her one-piece bathing suit over top, and her big sister's gladiator sandals, bows, and headbands. She loved fashion. She would change her outfit sometimes 3 or 4 times a day and throw clothes all over the place. I allowed her to go to school one day like this, and I let her go. She had such a great time with that. And my 3 elves, of course. And she loved caring for her friends at school. So here she is holding an ice pack on her friend's head from her boo-boo. It's adorable. I remember getting that picture from her teacher that day. And of course, reading to her imaginary friends and her favorite modified scorpion yoga pose. And of course, Halloween. And hot pink is her favorite color. And she always loves to wear the Supergirl outfit. And so this was Halloween 2017. And thought the funniest thing was people bobbing for apples. So she's giggling right there, the lower right-hand picture. So everything's fantastic and having a great time at Halloween. And then 2 weeks later, she dies. Healthy girl, vaccines up to date, all milestones met appropriately, even on the early side. And one day she falls asleep while watching television and doesn't wake up. And unfortunately, this pink outfit was the last outfit that she wore. So November 12th, 2017 was a day that really changed our life. So it's a Sunday morning. My husband and I were planning to go to a wedding that day. And so Vienna woke up, of course, jumped into my arms. She's my youngest of 3, all named with the first letter of V, hence my 3 Vs. And so I'm holding her, and I felt she was a little bit warm that morning. A little low-grade fever, okay, not a big deal. She's had a ton of fever. She's a toddler. Now it's 9 o'clock. I gave her some Tylenol, and not really much, much had changed after the Tylenol. Then a couple hours later, I gave her some Motrin. So 15 minutes after that or so, she was jumping around having a great time with her brother and sister. And so I thought, well, we'll continue, my husband and I will continue to go to the wedding. I thought for a moment maybe my oldest daughter should go to the wedding with my husband. I thought for a moment, I said, no, it's okay. The last time she's had a febrile seizure was 15 months ago. Why would today be any different? And she's had a ton of fever since then, high grade, low grade, anywhere in between, and she did fine. She was fine after about 24 hours, not a big deal. So I really wasn't concerned. If it was a year prior, there's no way I would have left. There's no way. So 15 months later, I thought, no, she's good. So, plus my babysitter, of course. So we've gone to the wedding, and I had a great day. Kids had a great day. Now it's 6:40 p.m., and we're leaving the wedding. We're in New Jersey, and I'm the driver, and my husband's in the passenger seat. And so we're driving now north up the parkway to go home. And we get the frantic phone call from our babysitter at 7:02 p.m. that night that Vienna stopped breathing and police are there, paramedics are on their way. And so, of course, my husband, is speaking to her, and he's an emergency medicine physician, lucky for me. And so he's the one talking on the phone then eventually with paramedics. And so now I'm driving up the parkway, and I'm going a little bit faster as I'm hearing what he's talking to me about and what he's saying to the paramedics on the other side of the phone. And I start hearing words that no parent ever wants to hear in regards to their child, healthy child. And the first thing I heard was intubation, and I remember driving and saying, what? And I remember thinking at the moment, if I react like that, that's not going to help anything. I need to drive. My only job right now is to drive and get safely to my daughter. My husband at this point, so now I'm not a physician, I'm a driver. I'm not even a mom. My husband now has to put his dad's hat aside and say, I'm a physician now. I must think the clearest I can to help our little girl. So I remember my husband also telling me, kids are resilient, she's going to be fine. Of course she's going to be fine. Of course she's Vienna, of course she's going to be fine. driving faster. And the next thing I hear is PEA, pulseless electrical activity. And then I hear V-fib. I'm like, oh, great, V-fib, shockable rhythm. This is great. Okay, shock, good, shock. PEA again. All right, okay. Still driving faster. And then I hear epinephrine, of course. And then I hear no ROSC, no return to spontaneous circulation. Arrive at the hospital, a couple minutes later, Vienna arrives. And I thought for sure, I'm a mom, right? So I thought for sure once I felt her, she felt my touch and she heard my words, and Mommy, she would wake up, and she didn't. And so the next thing I know, then my husband says, babe, come on over here. I said, yes. I said, they're doing now what I do when there's nothing else to do. Next thing I heard was time of death, 8:05. Of course, you think, what just happened? I'm confused. What happened? So, next day, now we have to tell our other two kids. I looked it up at 1 o'clock in the morning. How do you tell siblings that their sister just died? So I looked up at 1 a.m. that morning. So that was horrible, of course. So we go to the funeral home and talk to the funeral director, making the arrangements, and we didn't even know what we were going to do when we were going to die. And now we're making arrangements for a healthy 2-year-old girl, almost 3, 2 months shy, 3 years old. And so we're awaiting the call, of course, from the medical examiner, right? Because what happened? Did you choke on something? We're very cautious about choking hazard box. We have the little Legos with everything in there, count balloons, making sure there's no pieces of balloon anywhere. That didn't matter. So we found out. So a medical examiner calls us and she says, well, I do your autopsy of your little girl Vienna, and she's healthy. There's nothing wrong with her. What do you mean there's nothing wrong with her? You took really good care of her. So what happened? I said, well, if everything else comes out normal, this is a case of sudden unexplained death in childhood, SUDC. I said, wow, we're two physicians, we've never heard of this. We've heard of SIDS, everyone's heard of SIDS. And the baby's less than 1 year old, but what do you mean? She's almost 3 years old. How could this have happened? And so then of course, we then proceeded to find out how sudden unexplained death in childhood, SUDC, is a category of death of toddlers, adolescents, teenagers, 1 to 18 years old teenagers. Without an explanation, they're mostly falling asleep and not waking up. And we don't get an explanation for this. And we also learned that highest in toddlers, 1 to 4 years old, about 60% are toddlers. Of course, Vienna fell into that category. And the next highest are the teenagers, 15 to 18 years old, about 20% of the group. So we think about 400 kids a year in the U.S. die categorized as SUDC. However, for many reasons, which I'll go into in a little bit, that I think it's very underestimated, and we don't really know what's going on in the rest of the world. So there's no known causes, there's no way to predict this, no prevention. Of course, it's scarcely known in the medical community, which is exactly why I'm doing this talk, which is exactly why I have a Team Vienna booth at 733 to try to educate everybody, because it's something that's not in our medical schools yet and not in our residency programs, which it needs to be. And so when our patients come to us and say, my healthy 18-year-old child just died. What happened, doctor? Tell me something that'll give me some comfort. The doctor says, I have no idea. It's going to be extra rough for that patient. So if we at least know this exists and we can say, hey, look, you're not alone. There are other parents just like you. You can get help and you can find a community of people who have lost kids. This is so important. So that's why we all need to know about this. No matter what area of medicine you're in, you need to know about this because it can happen to friends, family, or patients, anybody. So there is no public funding for this, despite this being the 5th leading cause category of death in toddlers. And there's very minimal research because there's no public funding. And the most recent study that I just come out in the spring of this year, 2019, dealt with febrile seizures. So 391 kids, ages 1 to 6 is where they had the most data, across 18 countries, they found that up to 30% of these kids have a history of febrile seizures. And I think with more data, more prospective data and population-based studies, this number is going to rise, I think in my opinion, quite dramatically. It's not going to be 30%.
And of course, Vienna had 4 of these between the ages of 12 months and 18 months old. First one at 12 months, then the second one almost 18 months, and then after 18 months, she had 2 on the same day, which then bumped her into complex febrile seizures. Of course, we had her see a pediatric neurologist. EEGs were normal at that time, and even 2 months later, when she was out of the seizure realm, normal. So we did everything that we possibly could do to keep her healthy before she died. I breastfed her for more than half of her life. And, we're all we did the best we could to keep her healthy, and then this happens to us and our family. So incidence, I feel, is very underestimated due to a lack of many factors. So obviously awareness, and that's why we're here today to discuss this, and education. And like I mentioned, we need to get this into medical schools, and I really want to try hard to try to get into the curriculum to teach everyone, at the medical school level. And of course, the lack of uniform death investigation protocols from county to county, state to state, as well as there's a lack of uniform death certification. So we can have a pathologist can find some minor findings on autopsy. So they may find minor pneumonia. Well, minor pneumonia is not going to cause the demise of the child, but yet at times that will end up on the death certificate. So guess what? Now it's categorized as pneumonia. It'll never ever fall into the undetermined manner of death, which would then never ever get into the sudden unexplained death in childhood category, which is again why I think this number is very underestimated. And of course, there's no ICD code to track this. There is a code for SIDS, which is why we know all the babies who die of that, and but we don't know for these fully investigated deaths of kids 1 to 18 years old. And for SIDS, there's over 11,000 papers. To give you an example, SUDC 30-ish papers on this, and over $500 million of funding for SIDS, but no public funding for this. So a couple pearls on dealing with supporting the family. And, we know nobody knows what to say. We know nobody knows what to do. And it's interesting. My husband just received a message from one of our friends from residency, who said, "Look, I've been trying to write you something for all this time, but I didn't find the words. I didn't have the words to say anything." And finally, she told us all these wonderful things. And we know people don't know what to do or say, but we want people to acknowledge her. I want people to talk about her, because she'll always be one of my 3 children. I want to talk about her as if as if I'm talking about my other 2 kids who are on earth here. And speaking your name, very important. I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go to Vienna, Austria, so I can see. Well, it would be Wien there, because it's German. But I can't wait to see that everywhere. And that's like my dream place to go. I've never been. I was hoping to go with her. And of course, special dates that everyone I think should remember, especially when you're dealing with the loss of a child. Acknowledging her birthday for Vienna's January 19th, acknowledging the day she died, November 12th. Sad day, but we want to know what people are thinking about it. Sending a quick little emoji text of a broken heart means the world to us. The other people are remembering her and remembering us that day. And one date that people never really realize unless you've lost a child is the date that your child has been gone longer than they've been alive. That's a tough date. It's coming up next year. Of course, always including her. So whenever I sign a card, this is how I sign. This is my handwriting. This is how I sign her card, and I put a little halo over her V. And because again, she's always part of our family, and I want people to remember her. So my survival strategies. Okay, so number 1, guitar. It's helped me out dramatically since her favorite musician gave us this amazing gift of putting music to my words, creating this amazing song that's helped us and so many other families. That inspired me to take guitar because I wanted to learn my song. And so that has been a huge help, and taking guitar lessons every week has actually helped me much more than doing the one-on-one counseling sessions. It's really like my active meditation, and I love it. And learning more songs, of course. And of course, the nonprofit Team Vienna for SUDC Awareness that I started, it was incorporated the date that should have been her 4th birthday, January 19th. And so her logo is very special to us. This is Vienna's last artwork that she did the weekend of November 12th. My husband's a veteran who's in the Army, and so this is her last handprint. And so that was definitely, from the early days last year, incorporating to the logo. And then of course the way I signed her name with the halo, and the wave within the hand, because I'm trying to make waves for Vienna and SUDC and to really make a huge splash. That's why I put myself out there with this guitar today. I was very nervous. But I want everyone to remember this. I want people to put Vienna's gorgeous face with SUDC. So when you hear about a story, because you're going to hear it, it's not if, it's when. It's when you hear a story. It's when you meet a patient or a friend, unfortunately, or a family member, or a colleague or coworker says, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what happened. You'll say, I remember Vienna. And she died in a similar way. And we need to change this so this stops happening to all of these kids. So we have a world of amazing leaders to continue, making this world a better place. So I also founded Vienna's Day of International SUDC Awareness. And so this is a day every year, the Saturday between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, where we're honoring Vienna. I chose this date because it's outside of, the date she died in November, all the holidays that are not the most fun for us, and the date she died in, the date she died in November, holidays, and then of course her birthday in January. So this is in May, happy flowers, sunshine. So this year, Vienna's Day of International SUDC Awareness spanned all 7 continents, which is absolutely incredible, including Antarctica and Africa. And this is all thanks to friends of mine and friends of friends who have made this possible, which is just the most amazing thing that I could ever ask for. So that means a lot to me, where I ask people to run, bike, hike, walk, max challenge, volunteer. If you're on vacation, they're wearing their Team Vienna shirts or hot pink, and remembering Vienna, taking a picture, posting on social media, and helps our family and others who are following this day love seeing all pictures popping up from all over the world. It was such an amazing day. So next year is Saturday, May 16, 2020. We'll be walking on the boardwalk in Jersey, so maybe wherever you are in the world, help support that. That's one thing that we would love to see you do. So we can do this. We can do this, and we can make a change and discover why these kids are dying. This is a great representation of the 7 continents: Africa, South America, Europe, Antarctica. Thank you, Dr. Bob Adams. And Australia, there's Nepal and Asia, and of course we're in Jersey here, North America. So we can make a difference to ultimately spare other families from our horrible tragedy. And please join Team Vienna, join me, and be part of the solution to tell Vienna's story. You don't do anything else, tell our story. And remember this cute little girl, and please take a card, a little business-sized card, put in your wallet, and tell your family members and everybody about SUDC, and that it does exist. And wear a Team Vienna shirt. That has caused so many, it's spurred so many conversations. It's really been amazing. I was going to New York City Marathon to support a friend of mine who was running, and I'm tooling through the city. I got to get to the race, and someone stopped me. It was a family from Belgium who stopped me and said, oh, hey, Vienna. We had a nice 10-minute conversation about my daughter and SUDC. And that's how it happens. It's the ripple effect that continues to happen, and we all can help. This is not a lost cause. We all can help. And of course, Vienna's Day of International SUDC Awareness. So I hope you get involved with that and join me. So thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate your time, and thanks so much for coming here. Thank you so much.
Got it.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.